Here with us now is Doug Flynn, certified financial planner and co-founder of Flynn Zito Capital Management. All right, Doug, good to see you. A lot to unpack here. So, Trump says the future is going to be designed, built, and made in Pennsylvania and the U.S. So he seemed pretty happy about it, too. Your thoughts on what we just heard from the president and what it really means for the economy?
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that our grid is struggling to keep up with the demand, just in general, but more specifically when it comes to AI and related. If we're going to be the premier place in the world for this, we need a grid that can handle it. And that grid in that area, which is the largest one in the U.S., has been struggling. So these investments are great public-private type of investments. And it just shows you that, look, these tech companies in most places that we're talking about, you can invest in AI through the tech itself, but there's a deeper idea here in terms of energy and the infrastructure. You're talking about utilities and the other areas that are going to really benefit from the AI investment that this is doing. And so that will increase the availability for our AI expansion, and we need that. So I think these it's good on multiple levels, and not just from an investment standpoint as well, because you have a lot of tech, most people do, but they probably don't have enough utilities and the AI infrastructure in their portfolio.
Yeah, I mean, he rattled off a long list there of things that they're hoping to improve. And as Kelly just alluded to in her report, Google reportedly planning to invest $25 billion in AI infrastructure and data centers. So when you take a look at that, what do you think is the significance of that investment? What will it do?
Well, I like it from this standpoint. A lot of these announcements and other ones that have been made are over a 10-year period. This is over a 2-year period. So this is sort of really accelerated in terms of what they're trying to do. Get this money to work ASAP. They're going to build that infrastructure. That money's going to go to work right away. So that means jobs, and then it just means the availability for us to expand the AI part of everything we're doing. So I think it's good. It's definitely good for Pennsylvania. It's good for the region, the 13 states that are part of this particular grid. But obviously that's good for the U.S. overall. I think that's really driving a lot of this is sort of that part of the keeping us away from having to use China for as much as we do, and keep us ahead of China here. So I think on multiple levels, it's a good thing. And so hopefully this will actually come through and it'll get put to work as soon as possible. And we'll see the benefits in that expansion sooner as opposed to later.
Yeah, that's a sped up timeline for sure. And I want to ask you about inflation while I have you, because inflation increasing this past month at the highest rate in 4 months. So that's a big wow. And that is according to the latest report from the Labor Department, which finds that prices for consumer goods are rising in June across several industries. So what's your reaction to the latest inflation report? And is there something that we should be looking out for on that?
Yeah, so the headline you have to just be a little careful with, in our opinion, because if you look at the last 5 months, inflation's actually been running at like a 1.8% annualized rate. And part of the big jump here had to do with rents. And so, and that's a whole other issue. And if you want to say interest rates are too high and then people can't buy things, so they're renting, that's driving the rent costs up. And so that caused a lot of the inflation bump here. But it's been equal or below expectation the last couple of months. So look, tariffs are going to work their way into inflation. But any headlines that say it already has is not really true yet, at least in terms of the data. It can get there, and maybe it happens, but it hasn't happened yet. This has to do with other things. So you have to peel back the headline and look and see what was the real root cause of it. It was energy prices that spiked a bit, and rents. I mean, other things went down. Autos and other areas actually went down. So they offset. But that's where it's really coming from. So not really tariff related. But of course, any spike here is something to be concerned with if we do get the tariff part later on. Whether or not that actually comes, we'll see.
All right. Also, U.S. officials have announced this new 17% import tax on fresh tomatoes from Mexico. Man, that's been a big headline. I don't know if you're getting the alerts on your phone, but I keep seeing headlines on it. This is after negotiators failed to reach a deal to avoid that charge. And it's coming ahead of President Trump's deadline for 30% tariffs on all Mexican imports on August 1st. So, I mean, what do you think? How is this latest move going to affect overall negotiations? And are we going to have more expensive tomatoes?
Yeah, you might. And so first off, because they double prices from what was imported to the retail, a 17% tariff really means an 8.5% cost increase. So we see 17, but it's not going to hit you at 17. But really where this is coming from is that Mexico now supplies 70% of our tomatoes. And 20 years ago, that was only 30%. So basically, we cut our tomato production in the U.S. by 60% of what we used to do. So a lot of this is, hey, let's drive up. You know, is there a real big difference 5 miles south of the border or 5 miles north of the border for tomatoes? I don't think so. So perhaps we can do more tomato growing in the U.S., get those numbers back up of what we used to do, because no one wants to see a 60% decrease in what we're making here in the U.S. or growing here in the U.S. And I think that's what really driving it. But it is going to increase your costs a little bit. But remember, tariffs are a one-time bump. Maybe it jumps up a little bit, and then you have regular inflation, which is still relatively low. So that's what's going on there with the backdrop of that.
All right. Well, we'll ride the wave with you, Doug Flynn. Thank you very much for being with us today. As always, we appreciate you.